What do you say to all these Israel first, like neocons and warhawks that have come out of the woodworks these past few weeks, who label anyone who doesn't back every single one of Israel's actions as labels as anti-Semitic?
I completely reject that. As a matter of fact, I find that to be a form of bullying. And, I think organizations like AIPAC and Christians United for Israel should register under the law as foreign agents.
All right, so Marjorie Taylor Greene there admitted there's a lot to disagree with when it comes to MTG, but give credit where credit is due, perhaps. She's one of the few Republicans speaking out against Israel and lobbyists. And she wants to cease funding for Israel. Cenk, we're gonna hear more from Marjorie Taylor Greene in just a little bit, but what are your initial reactions to what she just said?
Yeah, I'm gonna make you guys uncomfortable by having you vote in a poll on whether you agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on her take on the Israeli lobby. So that's in the live chat. That's also on tyt.com, and I'm curious what you guys think about it. And watch all the evidence first. She's got more coming up. But she's taking a mom in a bunch of different ways. I'll do as my daughter says, I'll spoil the beans for me. Yeah, I think she's totally right. We have many stories from Democrats as well. Marie Newman, former congresswoman, came on the show, said, "Oh, the bullying from the Israeli lobby is unbelievable," right? And then the extra money that they keep getting over and over again. So I don't know that I disagree with it. Anything that Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying on this issue. I massively disagree on other issues. But look at that, 87% saying that's right. Okay, but let you show the rest of the videos and then we'll bring Elliot in.
Okay, as we've discussed before, Greene has become very outspoken about America's involvement in foreign wars. This past week, she announced she's introducing amendments to stop additional aid to Israel. It's being laid out in the National Defense Authorization Act. This is the annual bill that outlines priorities for Defense Department funding. She announced these amendments on Steve Bannon's War Room this past Wednesday. Listen.
I'm entering amendments to strike $500 million more dollars for nuclear armed Israel. And it's important to say nuclear armed Israel because they do have nuclear weapons. This is not a helpless country. And we already give them $3.4 billion every single year in the state from the State Department, $3.4 billion every single year. They don't need another $500 million in our defense budget. That's for the American people's defense. That's for the defense of the United States of America and our borders. Israel, you can nuclear armed Israel. I think it's really important to phrase it that way. Nuclear armed Israel doesn't need $500 million more from the American people. Our government just bombed Iran on their behalf and destroyed Iran's nuclear problem.
And it almost seems like an unlimited budget. NDAA supports a total of $925 billion in funding for national defense, $878.7 billion allocated to the Department of Defense, $35.2 billion to the Department of Energy. Now, the bill also allows for up to $6 billion in general transfer authority for unforeseen higher priority needs. As from Reuters, Senate Armed Services Committee has already approved $500 million in security for Ukraine, which passed 26-1. In addition to Israel, MTG also expressed interest in cutting the additional defense spending to Taiwan, Jordan, as well as money that goes to Africa for HIV prevention and education programs. This is not the money sent through the State Department. Those are separate funds, we should note. Then yesterday's episode of the Matt Gaetz Show, which was guest hosted by Vish Bura, Greene went on to explain that she supports Israel 100%, but is not afraid to say no, and that's okay.
I think organizations like AIPAC and Christians United for Israel should register under the law as foreign agents because they are lobbying on behalf of Israel. Now, I fully support Israel. I support many countries all over the world, and I truly want the best for their people. However, I work for the American people, and my job title is United States Representative. I'm unapologetic about it. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't wish any Israel or any other country harm. As a matter of fact, I want world peace, and I push for that constantly. But I really think that we should start calling it bullying. It's not wrong to say no to Israel. And we need to remind everyone, Israel has nuclear weapons. And to my Christian friends out there, this is the secular government of Israel that we're talking about, and not the Israel of the Bible.
So, Cenk, many people are saying, never mind the messenger in this case, whether you like her, don't like her, agree with her generally or not, she is making more sense, some are arguing, than members on both sides of the aisle here.
Yeah, so far I don't really disagree with anything she's saying on Israel. Like on the HIV thing, for example, that's a great distinction between us and her. That program, by the way, started by George W. Bush, to be fair, has saved 25 million lives. It's like one of the best things the American government's done. In the midst of an otherwise absolutely disastrous 2 terms, George W. Bush at least did that, and that was a hell of a thing. And they're saying, and it's like, it's so small compared to the rest. So I get it. There's people on the right who say, I don't care, I want to cut it all. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? There's folks like us who say, well, wait, are we saving 25 million lives? Or are we helping commit war crimes and genocide? I don't want to fund the genocide, but I like the idea of saving lives, right? And then I suppose there are people, well, there's a lot of people inside the government who say fund it all, right? So now, in terms of the facts on the registering as a foreign agent, I don't see how you could, I mean, I see how you could disagree with it, because you say, well, it's American citizens that are donating, saying, I want our representatives to, be nice to Israel. I mean, work for Israel, depending on somewhere in that spectrum somewhere, but definitely support Israel, right? That's the whole point of AIPAC. Israel's in the name. The only thing is about Israel. There's another group that's allied with them called Democratic Majority for Israel. So, and then when you point that out, they say, oh, that's comical. What do you mean registering as a foreign agent? No. We ran all these ads in Cleveland because it's Democratic Majority for Cleveland. But it isn't, it's Democratic Majority for Israel. You're obviously lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. And so I think that you should register as foreign agents. And I think that makes sense. And by the way, you should apply that evenly to all of the different countries and the support system that they have. And a lot of them do. Now, Israel's is way more powerful, but tons of countries have American citizens that form PACs and that say, okay, now only help the Turkish government, or help the Turkish government along with everything else, or the Indian government, etc. Right? So now on the extra $500 million, I mean, this is the thing with Israel. They feel enormously entitled. Like they get 3.4 billion every single year for like eternity. They already got about $30 billion to commit this genocide. They're like, oh, emergency. We have an emergency genocide to commit. And we gave them, both in the Biden and Trump administration, about $30 billion. That ought to do it. We don't need to give you more for that. And we should have given you nothing for that. Overall, Israel inflation adjusted dollars, this is probably way past it now, but the number that was from a couple of months ago was $311 billion we've given to Israel. Come on, for any country. Why do we owe you $300 billion? And after we've given you over $300 billion, why do we owe you more, right? Why do we have to do all of your defense? I mean, she's right, they have nuclear arms, they have the best military in the Middle East. They have a better military than the rest of the Middle East combined. They have universal health care, they have paid family leave. We don't have those things. Their budget's in okay shape. We have a $37 trillion debt. Why do we have to have the Pentagon budget give them an extra $500 million? It's insanity. In my mind, it's totally indefensible. Okay, but what do you think, Elliot?
I mean, honestly, I do kind of get a little bit into the conspiracy theories sometimes. And one of them is that we're living in a simulation. And I am starting to think that that's true because I'm trying to find something that Marjorie Taylor Greene said in those clips that I disagree with. Obviously, there's nuance that she's lacking, but that's who she is. I agree with everything that she said, not regarding withdrawing funding from other areas. But I think what Marjorie Taylor Greene represents for a lot of people is, especially on the left, is like a bridge to be able to communicate with people on the other side of the aisle. And it's not like we need her to like justify our positions that are based in like, ethics. But at the same time, being able to point to someone like this and go, look, this isn't just some fringe leftist crazy idea that we need to stop funding a genocide. It's also being supported by your own political party. And the fact that it is one of the more caricaturesque or more mascot-esque figures in it, I think is all the better. So props to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I guess I'm just sort of in shock whenever she says stuff, and I agree with it.
Yeah, she just seems to be making plain spoken common sense on this issue that many Americans would agree with. So that's what she has to say about Israel, lobbyists, the money, foreign wars, all of it. But she's also talking about Epstein, in addition to speaking out against US involvement in Israel's wars. Marjorie Taylor Greene has also been vocal about the Trump administration's failure to disclose in regards to the Epstein report. Here's what she posted on X earlier this week. What about her little black book? 97-page book contains the names and contact details of almost 2,000 people, including world leaders, celebrities, businessmen. No one believes there's not a client list. And then yesterday, in response to Alan Dershowitz claiming to know the names of the individuals on the list, here's MTG again on X. Release the Epstein client list. So what does her opinion on the Epstein files have to do with a block about Israel? People might be asking. Well, she officially joined in on the speculation that Epstein actually worked for Israel. Listen again.
I just want to put up the evidence here just so that everybody who's going to clip the show, so, how dare you, how dare you? Here it is, the Times of Israel. Ehud Barak met with Jeffrey Epstein dozens of times, flew in his private jet, was friends with them. Photos of him going, he was there. Look, this is a good one. Including 2014 private flight in Florida after he had been charged and convicted and found guilty and done prison time for child sexual abuse. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a clear. There's a clear line right there. And
read it and weep.
Said,
yeah.
Are we supposed to deny what our eyes and ears tell us? And absolutely not.
Okay, so there's a lot there. This isn't Pizzagate. This is a lot of 6 degrees of separation, if even, for this kind of thing. So, Cenk, what say you?
Yeah, no, I agree with her on this one too. Like, do I know for sure that Mossad did it? Of course not. How would anybody know for sure? And could it have been CIA instead? Sure, right? Could it be that it was just that there's so many powerful people from both political parties that they can't release the list? Of course, that's also possible. But if you say it's not possible that Mossad was involved when the prime minister of Israel visited him 30 times, Benny Johnson also said in that same interview that Alan Dershowitz told him that he took Epstein to meet members of the Israeli parliament. Why are the members of the Israeli parliament meeting with this rando, right? And he said, and again, this is Benny Johnson's words, not mine, but he said the head of the Mossad had also gone to visit Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell, his co-conspirator who's in jail right now, her dad is Robert Maxwell, one of the most legendary Mossad agents in Israeli history. Got a state funeral. And we can go on. And his connections to other folks who funded AIPAC, etc. So maybe it's a lot of smoke and there's no fire. Maybe Ehud Barak was a client and had nothing to do with the Israeli government. So impossible to know for sure. But is it legitimate to ask that, given all that evidence? And given the fact that the US government is covering up under both Republican and Democratic administrations, and usually there's only one lobby they do that for. Yeah, of course it's legitimate to ask that question. Like that is, I mean, even calling that a conspiracy theory to me is wrong. There are 3 potential legitimate theories: Mossad, CIA, some combination of those, but it could be just CIA, so we'll call that 2 different theories. And then there's too many powerful people. That's the 3rd theory. What is a conspiracy theory that has already been eliminated is there was hundreds of girls who were raped, but no one raped them. They raped themselves. There is no client list. There were no clients and no one will be prosecuted. That's the government's position. And that's the most ludicrous conspiracy theory I've ever heard. So how about this one, Elliot? What do you think about her thoughts on this?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, this is quickly going from a conspiracy theory to just a conspiracy. I mean, when you lay it all out, it's like that meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia where the guy's just looking at the board full of all the white papers with the red lines connecting all of it. And after a while, you start just going, oh, actually, I don't think we're the crazy ones here. And all of this actually does add up. in some regard. What I didn't expect was for it to be so incredibly dark. Like, I thought this was going to be something where Trump was very simply just narcissistically protecting himself, and I'm sure that's an aspect of it. All of these new developments and the very fact that it was instigated and catalyzed by them saying don't look at it, I think is just baffling.
Yeah, I'm going to gratuitously throw in this thing here. Like, because whenever you talk about Israel, there's always the charges of anti-Semitism that she referred to and everybody on the left has dealt with, et cetera. Any criticism will trigger that. Guys, two things that are super important. Even if it was Mossad, that doesn't mean it was all the Jews. Like, for example, if it was the CIA and you're a random American, do you think the CIA would tell you? Of course not, right? Is Mossad gonna go tell random Jewish people, oh, by the way, we're doing this conspiracy? No, of course not. Regular people have absolutely nothing to do with it, okay? And religion has absolutely nothing to do with it. Also, Israel's not allowed to hide behind charges of anti-Semitism on this one. No. Don't be weirdo anti-Semite for no reason. Jews across the world didn't do it. They're not part of the Israeli government. They're not part of their spy agencies. We're not part of the CIA. You're not part of the CIA. You get that, right? On the other hand, when you say, oh no, those are all super legitimate points, but you're not allowed to say it because we're Israel. Nah, that's not gonna fly. Okay, and the time for that working has officially come to an end. Okay, and apparently a lot of things have come to an end, including maybe Elliot's point about reality, because we apparently agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and so does our audience, at least on this issue.
Wow.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.